It's the age old difficult question for Lions fans. Every fantasy football draft night, you have to ask yourself the question, should I draft Lions players? And it's such a difficult question because you know you're a homer. You know you've been drinking the Kool Aid all offseason. And here, all of a sudden, you're asked the question, do I overvalue these players? Do I undervalue them because maybe I'm a little sour and I've been burned in the past? And I'm here to hopefully do a video that's going to put things in perspective. In this video, we are going to talk about 7 players. If you should target them, if you should not target them. We're going to talk about it in 2 types of leagues, both auction draft and a standard snake draft as well. So let's get into it. And by the way, 7, weird number. Why did I choose 7? There's 7 players on this team that have an ADP, average draft position, under 250. And once you get above that, I'm like, let's not even worry about it for now. Okay. So let's start with the running backs. Then we'll go wide receivers, tight ends, and maybe even a quarterback. We'll see. So let's start with the running backs. And I think when you look at running back, the first person you have to look at is DeAndre Swift. We know when healthy, he can put up points. I've had Swifty on my fantasy football team each of the last 2 years. Unbelievably frustrating. When he plays, he usually plays pretty well. He got pretty consistent toward the back end of his rookie year, early on second year. But it's been a struggle because he's hurt so often. So he has an average draft position. This is based on Fantasy Pros of 14.6. So I have a couple sites that I like to look at. I like PFF, I like Fantasy Pros, and I like The Athletic. I think they are doing a really good job also with their fantasy football stuff. So he has an average draft position of 14.6. If you're doing a standard draft, I'm selling at 14.6. I think this is high. I think that's too high to get him. And if he's sitting there around 17, 18, nab him, grab him up. He's the guy. If he can stay healthy all year, and we've seen that he's in better shape, so maybe that helps him stay healthy, then he has kind of that game changing ability. I think his high end is a poor man's version of Kamara. So a guy who's going to get some targets, they're saying that he's going to get 81.6 targets. That's a lot of targets for running back, catching 63 of them for 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. If you're in a PPR league, DeAndre Swift is good. They are also saying he's only going to get 50% of the run share. And that's what I worry about with injury. With Jamal Williams, you got to play him. Are you going to play Craig Reynolds a little bit? Like, there's going to be some share in the backfield, but hopefully he can overcome that with that. Now, in an auction draft, if you can get him around that $30 price point, $200 standard auction draft, 30, 35, go for it. Buy him up. I think he's worth it. I think he's a good player. I think nationally, he's almost overhyped right now, just because people are so desperate for a good young running back. And he's only in his 3rd year. So if you are in a fantasy draft, maybe think about that longer. I got to move faster. All right. The next guy that pops up on the list is a wide receiver, but like I said, we're going to go running back. So let's hit Jamal Williams. He has an ADP of 168.8. This isn't looking great. 500 yards rushing. They're saying 25 catches for another couple hundred yards receiving. Look, if you get Swift and you're worried about his injury history, maybe you take, like, with your last pick or second to last pick, you go Jamal Williams. If he's still available, just to kind of handcuff yourself to give you that insurance package. But I don't think Jamal Williams should be considered if you don't have Swift. I think you can wait on Williams because he will get such a little amount. He'll be on the waiver wire and just be looking for Swift to get injured and immediately put in your waiver claim for Williams and hope that people aren't advanced enough to do that. But I wouldn't be looking at Williams necessarily as a guy that I draft unless I have Swift, just because of Swift's injury history. I know that's a unique play, and some people view it as a waste of a roster spot. And I totally get that too. And if you just think Williams is going to get more run, that's fine. But when he is the number 1, he produces like an RB3, I would say. So he's a guy that wouldn't be horrible to have on your roster. Those are the only running backs that qualify. Our number 1 rated wide receiver, as you might imagine, is Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think we all knew it. He was our number 1 rated wide receiver last year, came in at almost 100 catches, rookie record for the Lions. I mean, the dude balled out, and especially the last 6 games. But I want to just pause for a second. He played those last 6 games majority of them without Hawkinson, maybe even all of them, right? He played those games. He was getting 10, 11, 12, 13 targets a game. I mean, that was Cooper Kupp type of target share on the team. He was getting so many passes thrown his way. If you have a healthy DJ Chark, when you get a healthy Jameson Williams, is he going to get that? When you have a healthy TJ Hawkinson, is he going to continue to get that 30%, that 20, 30% target share, 25, 30? I don't think so. They think he's going to be around that 19%, which will still be good numbers. It's still going to be good numbers. They're saying 120 targets, 82 catches, 900 yards. Basically, the idea is what he did last year, just more consistently throughout the year. I don't think you're going to have the one catch games like he did early in the season as he was growing as a rookie, but I also don't think you're going to have the 10, 11 catch games very often where he's going for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. I just don't think that's going to happen. So I think his upside is a good wide receiver too. His downside is wide receiver 3. I don't think he falls off the map at an average draft position of 68. That's not bad. Like I would take him at that. I'd buy at 68. And in an auction draft, it's all about getting the right price for him. He's not one of those wide receivers you want to go spend $25 on. Definitely not 30. But if you can get him in that low 20s, high teens, like, yeah, go for it. See what he can do. And you have guys around him. One's already injured with Williams. One's had injury history with Chark. Hawkinson has injury history, and he could be a real big upside as he does not. He has been really, really healthy. All right, our next one is DJ Chark, and he's all the way down at an ADP of 166. I am full buy on this one. Grab him up. If he's still there at 166, I mean, we're talking, depending on how many team league you are, the draft is over. If you're a 10-team, 15-player league, if you're a 12-team league, you're grabbing him in the last round or two. It's harder in these parts. If you're in a draft league with a lot of Lions, somebody's going to get excited and draft him in like the 10th round. Everyone's going to be like, what are you doing? Right? I mean, he's coming off an injury, so we don't know, but he will be wide receiver 1 in this offense. That doesn't mean he's getting the most targets, but he's going to get targets that are for bigger chunk yardages than Amon-Ra St. Brown. We've already seen early on in training camp that Goff is targeting him a lot in the red zone, in the end zone, because he's a big-bodied receiver who can go make a play on the ball. So I don't think you can just throw that aside. If he's around late in the draft, pick him up. That's a no doubt. And then the guy who comes in right behind him at 174.7 is Jameson Williams. If you are in a keeper league, if you are in a fantasy or a dynasty league, pick him up. Like, that's all I have to say. Pick him up. If you are in one of those, because sure, he's going to struggle. He's not even going to play maybe for the first half of the season, but then he's going to go. And this is one of those things that you are drafting him. You could draft him really cheap in an auction league. You might be able to get him for $1 to $5. I don't know, because he's hurt. I don't think a lot of people like to spend money on an injured rookie that's not going to start. So get him for that. And if you're in a keeper league, you got him for next year for $5, $6, $7. I mean, like, all day, do it all day. And I hope none of my buddies are watching this, because now they know my strategy, which is wait till the end, draft Williams on the cheap, in my auction draft, and just hold on to him for next year. I really do think that would be a good play for him, because he should be a bona fide number 1 receiver either by the end of this year or next year. All right, TJ Hawkinson. This is interesting. He has an ADP that is just almost exact to Amon-Ra St. Brown. It is 67.3. That puts him in at tight end number 7. I personally view him as the tight end 8 or tight end 9. So I'm kind of a sell on this one. And here's the reason I am. Goff is okay to the tight end. He hasn't proven to just love tight ends. Don't get me wrong. Higbee had some good years and things like that, but he hasn't proven to be huge on the tight end. And Hawkinson straight up hasn't proved he can stay healthy. He hasn't. The best game TJ Hawkinson to date has had was his very first game as a professional against the Arizona Cardinals, where he went for like 140 some yards and just had a great game. And we're all like, this is it. This is Kittle. This is Travis Kelce. Like, we have our tight end, and he just hasn't lived up to it. So I don't want the hype to be there so much. He's a guy who has not produced consistently. So he's one of those guys that I don't put in the first or second tier of tight ends. I put him firmly in the beginning of the third tier. So if you're just at the tail end of the draft, most people have their starters and you're looking for a starting tight end because he is a tight end one, and you're a little bit deeper in the draft, go for Hockenson. I don't know if I would take him at 68. That could be 6th round in a 10-team league. Could be 5th or 4th. Yeah, 5th round in a 12-team league. So I think that's a little early, and I also don't love to go tight end super, super fast. And here's one thing that I will say about TJ Hockenson. When you start seeing all those top tight ends going off the board, the Kelsey, the Kittle, the Waller, like when you see those guys go, and I don't know why I'm blanking on the rookie out of Florida, the second-year player, I should say. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, but when you see those 4 go, don't panic pedal and go for TJ Hockenson. Dalton Schultz would be a great pickup, even ahead of Hawk. I mean, there are some guys that I think he don't believe that Hockenson is a top 5 tight end. He hasn't proven that yet. Now, I hope he's proven me wrong and he goes nuts and he has a bunch of open opportunities because he has more talented wide receivers around him. So the middle of the field is wide open for him because DJ Chark, Jameson Williams are taking the top off, and him and St. Brown just have all this room underneath. So that's my hope, and he becomes a good red zone threat. So that's kind of where we're at. I mean, and then the last one, I know this video is getting a little long for our standard video. Jared Goff comes in at 224.4. I wouldn't draft Jared Goff in a snake draft. And if you want to throw with your last pick to get a backup quarterback for $1, you can get Jared Goff in an auction league. It's not going to cost you more than $1. Here's the thing about Goff. He is going to survive most of them. Now, if you are in a super flex league where you have 2 quarterbacks and you need a 3rd quarterback, I think he is a great option. I think he is that fringe quarterback 2/3 in a super flex league. In that case, I absolutely would pick him up toward the tail end because I believe he is going to fall in somewhere fantasy wise between 16 and 24. And that's exactly what you're looking for, quarterback 2/3. So I think he would be a good guy to start the season on the bench and fill in for guys on bye weeks. Just make sure you don't mess up that bye week. I think Goff could put up some numbers this year. I really do. His numbers weren't even terrible last year with an awful team around him, and he will start where he was at the last 6 weeks last year, plus more talent. So maybe hit that up. Give it a shot, a flyer on it, as much as I hate to say it, but you're not getting any rushing yards. You're not getting anything like that. So maybe you want to take a flyer on a guy like Fields or something like that. And I would not blame you. So anyways, that's where we're at. Don't rush in. If you're in a snake draft and a standard draft league, don't try and draft early because you're saying, oh, Jimmy over there is a huge Lions fan. I got to get Swifty before he gets him. Don't play that game. It's okay. You're going to watch the Lions every week. Just enjoy them. Sometimes it's nice not to be tied to a fantasy football DeAndre Swift and just enjoy Swift for being good. You don't want DJ Chark to score a touchdown and then be upset because Swift didn't get the touchdown, right? So don't push on it. Look at the ADP, find ADP of these guys and make a rule for yourself. I am not going to draft a Lions player ahead of ADP. And if they fall behind it, I got them. I'm going to snatch them up because then it's fun to enjoy Lions players and you can feel like you got good value on them. If you're in an auction draft, don't get in a bidding war with another Lions fan. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. And it's just going to nickel and dime you to death. And by the end, all of a sudden, you're not going to fill out the back end of your roster and you're going to regret it. And you're going to say, you're going to have those rose-colored glasses on or those Honolulu blue-colored glasses, and you're going to say they're going to be even better than I thought, and they're not going to be. Each year, other than Calvin Johnson, and if you played fantasy football a long time ago, Barry Sanders weren't better than you thought they were going to be. Heck, now I'm side trailing on this. Even Barry Sanders wasn't better than you thought. That was back in the times where you played touchdowns only, right? And touchdown Tommy Vardell was always coming in there and stealing them, or Corey Schlesinger. It's just so frustrating. But anyways, there you have it. That's what you have for the Lions. Hopefully you watch this whole video. If you want more fantasy football content on this, let us know. We would love to do more videos and happy to talk about it. Different angle that we haven't really taken so far. So let us know if you like it. Hit the subscribe button below and we'll see you on the next one.